Again, a reminder to have your cell phones turned off, your electronic devices. And otherwise, I don't think there's anybody else that came new. So this will, you heard the spiel the first time. We have 4 individuals running for town board. 2 are running for the town chair position. That's Lori Giamatti and Carl Hasdell. And 2 are running for supervisor position. That's Daniel Minter and Jackie Cole. Jackie Cole let me know by email that she was not able to come tonight. So I don't know. I hope she's okay. We're sorry she couldn't be here. The election is April 4th. And this is a chance for us to answer, to ask some of the questions that you deposited in the question boxes at the library in the town hall here for our supervisors. I know the chair position has a little bit more responsibility, quite a bit more responsibility than the supervisor position. But on all issues, the town chair has 1 vote, just like the supervisors all have 1 vote. So we are going to address the questions to all of them because the questions that were submitted were for the chair and the supervisors. So I know that they had figured there would be 3 categories. We'd have the chair separate from the supervisors, but it's a good thing we planned it this way, because without Jackie, Dan would be right on the spot.
I appreciate that.
So we will start with Lori with your 2 minutes for your opening statement.
This spring marks 45 years that our family purchased their first piece of property at Lake Arrowhead. We've lived in Rome full-time for 23 years and raised our son here, and my parents are buried here. Our entire family has always actively participated, volunteered, and played in all that Rome offers. So I can say we are actively invested in our community.
I don't think your microphone
It-
is, well, you're not close enough or something.
It is on.
Yeah, closer than,
Oh.
when you were closer than it was.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? All right, do you want me to start over then, or okay? I'm very sorry.
I think so, because I don't know
Well,
if they heard you at home.
okay, hang on, then I'll.
Sorry
start
about
over.
that.
Okay,
Spring marks 45 years our family purchased their first piece of property at Lake Arrowhead. We've lived in Rome full-time 23 years, raised our family here, and my parents are buried here. Our entire family has actively participated, volunteered, and played in all that Rome offers, so I can say we are fully vested in our community. I previously served on the Rome Town Board from April 2010 until April 2018, and last year was re-elected to the town board as a town board supervisor. I was a programmer analyst at Century Insurance from January 1998 to October 2009. I was a leisure, business, and group travel planner and manager from May 1981 until November 1995. I was in college at North Central Technical College in Wausau and graduated in 1997 with a degree in computer science. And I did undergraduate studies in political science and history at the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee and Stevens Point. Throughout my time as a town board supervisor, I was actively involved in the Community Development Authority and also as a Plan Commission member. I did the Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan. I worked on the Splash Pad Work Group. I did Music in the Park, which I organized with the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber. I organized the original Rome Tourism Bureau and was a founding member and the first vice president. I was a founding member, a charter member, and the first president of the American Legion Auxiliary Ryan Larson Post 65. I was a founding member of the the Chester School of Forest. I was an Adams County board member from April 2010 to April 2016. I was the organizer of a community initiative workshop in 2015 that coordinated the draft group, and I did a visioning. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Okay. Okay, Carl.
Start. I graduated university with a BSBA and MBA in finance, and I have several years of architectural and engineering education. I am currently the Rome Town Board Chairman, Chairman of the Tri-Lakes Management District, and past Chairman of the Rome Water Utility. I was Director of marketing for several large wholesale retailers with full P&L responsibilities with $750 million budgets and staffs of up to 5,000 employees. During the last 2 years, we accomplished many projects. Here are a few. We created an EMS district in 2021 with 24/7, 365 paramedic level service with a 2022 average response time of 7 minutes, 32 seconds as opposed to a half an hour or more from Nakusa with a lesser service. At my first board meeting as chairman, I asked the board to come back with their top 3 priorities. We all agreed that roads would be our #1 priority. I received an email for a grant, state road grant, and Jamie and Brad turned that into a $574,000 grant we received, and it will be taking care of Apache Road this year, 2 miles. We revised our brush and timber ordinance, sending out over 950 compliance letters to reduce fire hazards. This was completed in 2 years rather than the original 5-year plan. We sent out over 100 other code enforcement letters to maintain property values. I asked the board to move up the comprehensive plan from 2026 to 2021 to control land flipping and uncontrolled growth. We've all been seeing what was going on prior. I asked the board to review the Gateway District and to include all commercial properties if possible and review. I asked the board committing $67,000 of ARPA funds. We Energies expanded our gas line last year, which was completed at no cost due to its success. I've always been a problem solver, and I do get things done. I have over 40 years of business experience, now bureaucratic experience, but I'm not a bureaucrat. Please go ahead to my website, votehasdell.org, to see what else we've accomplished and what we're looking forward to in the next 2 years. Thank you. Beat it.
Okay.
Right. Well, thank you everybody for coming tonight. Thank you to the viewers who are watching. Thank you to the Rome Makers HCE for sponsoring this event. It's definitely a different event than it was 2 years ago when I ran for my first term on the board. At that time, we really only had a couple of members of the Rome Makers here in the room with us, obviously because we were in the midst of COVID. Somebody mentioned tonight, did we know it's been 3 years to the day since things got shut down? I try not to think about 2020 too much anymore. I moved to Rome 5 years ago when I took on the position of president of Assumption Catholic Schools up in Wisconsin Rapids. And I looked out here because I loved the area. I had driven through Rome numerous times, going back and forth from where I lived to various meetings in Madison. And I was always sort of intrigued by the area, but hadn't really spent a lot of time here. Well, I can say now, after having lived here for 5 years, I think Rome lives up to its well-deserved reputation. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to come. It's a great place to play. And by being on the board, it's given me an opportunity to help many of those projects that Carl mentioned that we've been able to do. My one committee assignment is the Lester Library, and I think we have a great library here in town, and I'm very so proud that we have a library. Not every town can say they have such a nice library. So I enjoy being on the board and talking and looking at things. It's tricky because obviously we have to balance things. You know, we have those people that love nature and those that want development, and sometimes those two things don't necessarily agree with one another. But working together like we do, we can come up with and keep this community vibrant and growing into the future.
Okay, this question, Carl, you will start. As you mentioned, there seems to be a lot of concern about the road conditions in the town. It's on. Okay. There seems to be much concern about the road conditions. We had lots of questions about it. There were, and it was about the deteriorating roads and snow plowing of roads. So we kind of lumped them together. Would you support a plan to eventually replace all the roads and that need replacing and keep them on a rotating maintenance plan? And would you support plowing every road after a 3-inch snowfall rather than plowing the main roads and forgetting about some of the cul-de-sacs? Would you support finding a way to inform residents of the days and which roads you'd actually be working on? Because some people felt that they didn't know work was going to be done and kind of were either stuck, either trying to get their cars out and not able to, or they would have planned differently if they knew in advance that those roads would be working on. So that's kind of 3 questions in one: the snow plowing and informing residents of the days, et cetera, and the road deterioration itself.
Okay, first, we all understand the roads just don't deteriorate overnight, although Apache seemed to happen that way. Last October, Apache was in pretty decent shape. We had some really nasty weather come through in November, December, and it just fell apart. You're right, it fell apart. I did ask Jamie, I said, what was our issue there, and what came back was that the road was repaved back in 1997, and the pavement's usually good for about 17 years, so we got an extra 9 years out of it, and we didn't expect that, and it did just fall apart. That is tops on our priority. Back in 2021, we were advised we would receive ARPA funds, and again, the board decided that the roads were our #1 priority, and we dedicated a fair amount of ARPA funds to 2022 to do some of the work that we all decided was our priority. We also moved up projects from 2023 to 2022. We moved up projects from 2024 to 2023 for this year. Again, we've got a $574,000 grant from the state that is in addition to our normal program. And yes, all the roads are on I think it's called a passive rating. We are going to have to look at that and redo it again this year and make sure we have those roads in need and then come up with a plan to address them. I know they're working on that right now, especially on Apache. That one just totally fell apart. Concerning snow plowing, we had an agreement, I believe, 2 years ago when we had a plowing issue that all the roads would be plowed. There's no exceptions. And talking to a couple people, if we don't plow roads, we're subject to lose state funding. So we will be plowing all roads. And if we have, I do plan on putting that as an agenda item come up shortly, and we will discuss that. I'm thinking 2 inches or better, unless there's like a rain coming afterwards or it's just a fluffy snow. But all roads have to be plowed. No ifs, ands, or buts. Primary first, secondary next. Again, back in December, we had that heavy snow and people were complaining about the plow, but they didn't realize that we had trees down, over 50 of them. Instead of spending 56 to 70 hours plowing it, we spent over 380 hours in plowing. I got more to say.
You will have time later. In your 2 minutes. We'll have time. Are you ready? Yes.
So yeah, so first to the upkeep of the roads, the repairs of the roads, like any capital investment of either our own personal, our homes, or of a business capital investment, having a schedule, and there is a schedule out there for when roads will be replaced. Although, like happened here with Apache, sometimes they have to jump the line because they fall apart a lot faster than we thought they were going to. They're not cheap. I don't remember the exact figure, but it's well north of $250,000 per mile to pave a road in today's day and age. So yes, the roads could all be replaced in this town for the appropriate amount of money. Obviously, we're not replacing every mile of road in 1 year because I don't think our tax bills could bear that. But we need to have an updated plan of which roads need to be on the schedule, and then the plan also needs to be flexible because, like what happened now with Apache, it's gone and needs to be done. The plowing, I live on a cul-de-sac, so my road is one of the last ones, at least in my area, that gets done. And I do think our town crews do a great job with what they have to do in making sure that people can get in and out. Is it as fast as we all necessarily want? No, it's not. But I don't think they intentionally forget to do anybody. It's not, I don't think they have that intention. And then when we're talking about that, people not being able to get to their properties if construction's going on, that's a communication thing. And yeah, maybe that we need to look at something. Do we need to communicate better with the property and owners and residents when that road is being redone and when it's being ripped up, so that the people who are there know what the plan is and what and when they can or cannot get out, and they can make appropriate plans. So that's a communication thing, and hopefully that's one of the cheapest things to fix.
Thank you. Okay, okay.
I think to manage,
Begin. I gotta start over. Okay.
I think to manage one of the town's largest assets, we really need to know all of our roads, and our PACER ratings have never really been presented to us in an actual discussion at a town board meeting. A lot of the roads are mains in that. At one time we had years ago, the North Central Regional Planning Organization had come to us and reviewed all of our roads for us. Years ago, town board members went out and did those reviews ourselves, so we knew what we had. And I think it's important that we had an organization do that for us again. They did that for free, and every single road updated those PACER ratings for us, which go into the Whistler system. So we have an overview and mapping of how those roads and those conditions are. I think I said it before at the other forum, and I think the time has come that we have a serious discussion at the town board level as far as what we may need to do regarding bonding. If roads are important and we talk, we need to take action and seriously think about that, because doing 4-5 miles a year is not going to get it done. As far as snow plowing, yes, I think we need to have communication available, just like we did with brush pickup, and have that available to people on our website, or maybe a news blast goes out, like the communications you get regarding town meetings. I think that might be very helpful, and people might welcome that because it comes up on your phones. The website as well. So I think those, as well as the safety issues we have with loose gravel on our roads, which could actually be an issue with liability. If someone slips and falls, cars slide, there's accidents. Those are all issues with the town. So I think that's something we really need to think about soon and discuss soon. I did ask last year that we have discussions regarding bonding, financing, and taking a look at those roads, and we did not have those discussions, and I would welcome doing that as soon as possible, and I would do it if I became your chair. Thank you.
Okay. The next question. People are concerned about the number of short-term rental homes in Rome. Would you have a plan to control the building and or sale of homes for the sole purpose of renting them out on short-term leases? And we're starting with Dan.
Sure. This one is sort of it's a tricky one for me. I do believe that we do have a good plan in place to manage the known short-term rentals that we have. And those are the responsible owners that follow the rules and actually register their rentals and act appropriately in that manner. The reason I say it's tricky is because then that I'm torn between a conservative and a libertarian, and the libertarian side of me wants to say, government, keep your hands off of things. But then the other side of me says, but there has to be some rules that we all live by. And so it's not an issue that I am overly familiar with, other than knowing that we do have a number of short-term rentals in town. Between that and the places down at Sand Valley, we do get a significant amount of revenue from them. Not to say that revenue drives everything that we do, because you can't let revenue be the sole driver of what you do. But I do think there can be a balance, there needs to be a balance, and it needs to be, again, a process of communication with the people that want to do those types of properties.
As Dan said, it does drive revenue for the town and for our local businesses. Short-term rentals are a concern in a lot of the neighborhoods. As far as building homes and then them being converted to short-term rentals, looking at the rules and being on Plan Commission, I'm not sure how we can control that, but we do have a number of regulations already in place, and I'm proud to say that we work very hard at the Plan Commission, and we have set a number of those regulations in place. We have an enforcement mechanism in place to help us with that. There is one thing that we have been discussing, and it's on our radar for this summer to work on that, and that's a mechanism that we want to look into that other communities in the state have used, and it's a form of density, but of course we have to work through the legal and compliance issues with the current laws, and if that would be a way of limiting short-term rentals, we're not sure, but that's something we want to look into. But then we also need to look at what those solutions might be and how they affect affordable home prices, because there are a number of people moving into the area, and we know that housing is limited right now. So we want to also make our community, we want to keep it local and friendly for our current homeowners, and we don't want to affect our home values. So that's why we're looking at the density issue and what laws, we don't want to get ourselves in trouble. So short-term rentals are here to stay, and by law, we can't stop it. They're here to stay. Thank you.
Yeah, as mentioned, short-term rentals were enacted by the state legislature to basically, we cannot deny them. We can control them to a certain extent, and we do have inspection processes. They will be inspected, and they must pass the inspections. They must also pay a fee to become short-term rentals. And then our compliance is also strictly enforced. Just a heads up, though, to try and control them, it's difficult, simply because if you look at an area like Lake Geneva, I mentioned it at the last forum, there was a case called Black v. Lake Geneva, where the Lake Geneva passed the fee to be $1,000, $1,500, I think it was $1,500 actually, and then a few other things, a 24-hour access to the short-term rental where they could just grab a key and go in and search at any time. They took them to court, and they started negotiating. They ended up reducing the fee to $750, and since then they've reduced it to $400. Again, we can only control with what we're not limiting them in the state's eyes. We can't be out there saying, yes, you can have a short-term rental, but these are the hoops you have to jump through. We have to make the hoops reasonable and responsible, and that's what we've been doing. We do have a good program set up here. We have a good follow-up. Jamie's hired an outside outfit that will track to see if rentals are occurring that aren't associated with us. If there's people out there renting their properties on short term, they will have a nice little fine waiting for them when we catch them. In addition, again, with the short term rentals, they are limited as to how many days they can rent it out at a specific time. So we're gonna just keep going on those rules. If there's anything we can do and expand it legally, then we'll take a look at that. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, and Lori, you will be first on this one. There were many issues brought up by the residents in the questions we received. Some of these issues were water quality, shoreline protection, frequency of police patrols in subdivisions, UTV and ATV and snowmobile trail upkeep and safety, tax reduction in Rome, supporting the library, and business and residential development. So there's so many that there's just no way that you could answer all of them. So we would like you to choose what you think are the two most important issues facing the town board, and how would you resolve them?
Could you give the list again?
Yours may not even be on this list. What are the two issues that you think are the most important issues facing the town board, and how would you resolve them? I'm just giving you, we had a lot of questions. This is awesome. I hope people come to the town board meetings and learn some stuff, because we had a lot of questions. So your two most important issues.
All right, I believe the most important issue is doing something about our roads. We're falling way behind. We need to communicate as a board about our roads and what our plan is. We need to get a capital improvement plan together and figure out how we're going to finance the future of our roads, and how we're going to get caught up and stay on top of it, and how we're going to maintain it on an annual basis like we used to do years ago. We did fall behind years ago. We tried to get caught up. We fell into some lean years. We did what we could when we got some MFL money in, And then the boards after us, I don't know, and so we just need to get on track again with our roads because they are crumbling before us. Anybody that can look out their car window can see it, and we're getting behind. I think the next important issue is that we need to get caught up on our projects. Things come before us and we don't see them get settled. We've talked about deer, we've talked about water. People need to understand. I met a very nice couple last night and they said, what is the town board going to do about our water? I said, you have a taxing facility, a taxing entity that is responsible for helping you as a lakefront property owner with the quality of your water. They get additional funding to do that and they have other resources to help them with that. We as the town are here to help you with infrastructure and protective services. We do what we can and we will back them up however we can. But they are the ones that primarily can help you with your water quality, and we can help you with that as well. But we are here for infrastructure and public safety and other services that we need to provide you with. And then communication is part of all of that. We need to reconnect as a board and provide the town with services and overall communication together and connect as a community, have fun and some enthusiasm again, and just talk as a community and connect. And that's what I believe. Thank you.
As I mentioned, I'm the chairman of the Tri-Lakes Water Management District, and we are moving forward very quickly with many what we consider not necessarily solutions, but at least conditions to improve the quality of our water. Over the years, the utility is basically just taking care of the weeds and a few other things, and that's calling it a day. I've been on the board for 5 years, and within the last 3 years, we've made a lot of progress. This year, 2023, we are doing what's called an alum treatment on Lake Sherwood. This is going to be a very expensive treatment. It's $197,000. The electors voted it to approve it, and we will be applying this in June, and it goes across the whole lake. What it should do, and they do tell us that we will see improvements, that it'll reduce the nutrients that are required for algae to grow. The phosphates, it'll connect with the phosphates and some nitrates and just reduce the possibility that we're even going to see a lot of algae. If this works properly as we expect, we will apply for grants for the other 3 remaining lakes. If not, we will ask the constituents if they are happy with what happened in Sherwood. We can continue on with maybe 1 lake a year at this kind of cost. We're also looking at additional projects. We hired an engineering firm because, to be honest with you, none of us are experts. We're doing the best we can with what we knew, but we hired an outfit called EOR out of Minnesota. These people are water experts. They're the ones that got us going on this alum treatment. They are also going to be checking with our DNR and see if we can do aeration, water recirculation to also help reduce algae in the other remaining lakes. The other ones, you're talking about ATV, UTV, and water. We did hire an additional police officer this year, and he's going to be a community officer, and he's going to be out there for code enforcement. We are going to be getting a UTV for the police department, and we also have a second boat for water, so he'll be out there in the boat to help ensure we have safety on our lakes. So we are addressing those issues. Anything else? Send me the emails. I couldn't watch all that.
Yeah, those are some really great topics, and I don't necessarily know that any one of them is more important than the other. At various times, they're all important, and to any one individual, they're each important. If I was going to lump a couple of them together, I think we as a town entity exist to provide infrastructure and services to the residents of the town, of which we are also all residents of the town. But we exist for that infrastructure and services. Then it's the matter of prioritizing how do we pay for them, what can we afford, what's the most important thing, and so the prioritizing of the spending is also important, because we don't just get a blank check from the taxpayers. We have to justify what we're spending and why we're spending it. But infrastructure and services definitely are important. Like Carl mentioned, there's an additional police officer coming on board this year. As needed, hopefully maybe there will be more or maybe different versions. That cooperation of the EMS district between us and Big Flats and Monroe, I think that's a great first step. I could see those types of intergovernmental cooperation's becoming more important. Each of us is small, but together we can be a little more mighty and a little bit more bigger. And then really, just providing opportunities for the residents to know all the things that we have here in the town that we can do while you're here, or while your guests can do when they come to visit you. So the communication piece, the website, and visit Rome. Communication is key. There's a lot here to do, and I don't think we all know what is all here for us to do.
Actually, that was the next question. You already answered it. How do you think accurate communication can be improved in the town of Rome between the board, the town staff, and the residents and visitors? That was quite a... And we start with Carl.
That was one of my goals when I first came on as chairman, was to improve in communication, and to that extent I think we've made some improvements without spending a lot of money. We have used Channel 300. We changed the programming on there, and again, you mentioned the school board. We are featuring the school board now on the Channel 300 and showing their meetings. Some of the other projects, we were looking at the marquee board out there to get more information out there. Folks were asking about the roads and what's being done. If you go to the Town of Rome website and go to the Public Works, you will find all the road projects for the next couple of years. They are on there. As far as communication, again, when we had that big snow back in December, I asked Jamie to put something out there, and she did, to let folks know that we had 50 trees down. They were doing extra work to try and get the roads cleaned up and caught up. And with that one out there, it ended up in social media, and all the negatives on the social media stopped. Again, I agree. Communication is key. What else can we do? We're looking for information from people all the time. One of the things I'd like to see is we've got more people here than we've seen at pretty much any of our board meetings. I know some people do watch it at home, but we'd like to see some interaction too. Some of these questions we know about, some we don't. Come in, bring up your question and ask us and see what we're doing about it, and maybe it's something we off our radar. But it's, again, I agree, communication is key. And as far as with our staff here, we do operate it in a chain of command. Everything goes through Jamie. I deal with Jamie, and if folks got issues, they know they can come to me. They usually don't. They'll bring them up through Jamie, and we'll see what's going on and take care of them. So our staff is important. I think we have the best of the best crews out here. Our management across the board is excellent. I wouldn't pretend to know their job as well as they do, and I do rely on them to perform their work. Our job is to set policy, make sure we're following through on funding, and make sure we're spending your money wisely. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, yeah, so communication is important. A lot of it is, communication is a two-way street. It's a circle. You have a question, you get an answer, you get more questions, you get more answers. And so it is important that not only do we as a board communicate with each other, and we communicate with Jamie as the town administrator, and through that down to the staff, and then it filters back up the other way, but it's also important that the residents know too that they can send us messages, they can put things, mail us things in our mailboxes, so that we know what's important to the town residents as well. If we don't know about a problem, we can't fix the problem, and all the complaints in the world on social media about a given problem, whatever that problem might be, well, if you're not concerned about it, please bring those concerns to us so that we can take appropriate action and give appropriate direction to act upon that. It's really hard to react to a post on Facebook or some social media app without knowing more of the facts. So I would say two-way street of communication is important, and then just everybody listening to each other. The more we listen, the more we learn. The more we learn, the more we can do things, and the better we can do things.
I remember years ago, a previous board had gotten a communication group together to study, and there's a page in the City Times that goes in monthly that has events and things on there. And 300's good, and there's blurbs that go out on our phones and things, and there is channel 300. But years ago, there used to be community gatherings and often community meetings at the gazebo. And I'd like to see those things come together again. We also used to have Taste of Rome every year, where there'd be community picnics, and we'd have gatherings where people could talk and meet their town representatives. Food and music always bring people together, and we need to learn to reconnect as human beings and talk to each other, and rather than be on our phones doing this, right? So that would be nice, wouldn't it? Learn how to reconnect as human beings and talk. And I think we're coming together and seeing that happen in our communities once again. So I think finding ways to do that, surveys seem to be working again, community gatherings, and also getting our faces out there, our phone numbers, and even though they're on the website, maybe publish those, make those pop up on the phones again, some way to get those out, that people know they can talk to us, not just Jamie. And also our board being able to talk, and when we do request information as town board members, making sure that our town board members have the information they need, so that when our community members ask us, we can respond to them. Because it's often very difficult to get the information we need to do our jobs. So we gotta make certain that we have the information we need to work with our community members. Thank you.
Okay, and the last question before the closing statements. Given all of the issues that concern residents, what is your vision of the town of Rome in 5 years? And Dan, we're starting with you.
So I think in, excuse me, in 5 years, I would like to see the town of Rome continue along the path that we are currently. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to, for some people, it's a great place to work, or it's a great place to be relatively near where you work. And that the town of Rome manage its resources wisely, the natural resources, the business resources, the human resources, so that we can have a better future as we go forward. We can't forget where we've come from, and we can't forget why. I mean, I'm looking at the banner on the podium here, a town for all seasons. It is truly a year-round town. I see it only becoming more important, but hopefully we'll be able to retain and build that sense of community and really be a community. And that's where 5 years from now, if we could be a community and do some of those things like Lori mentioned, community events and things like that, we've lost that in our society as a whole. If you think back to 1950s, 1960s, I don't see it at my school, with my families. It's hard to get them together. We're all so busy, or we have our phones. And so building a community and just functioning together as a neat place to live in South Central Wisconsin would be an awesome vision for 5 years from now.
I would piggyback on what Dan had just said. We're an awesome community. We're a generous community. You ask us for something and we give to each other. And I'd like to see us continue to do that. And Dan and I had talked just before the holidays about a quarterly community newsletter, and we'd like to see how we could do that, and that's another way of getting information out. We talk about, things costing money, but it really doesn't cost that much. The school district does it, smaller groups do it, nonprofits do it. Find a way. We can find a way to do it, and it's something so simple. It can be for pertinent information, raise awareness of little programs in the area, fun things going on. Visit Rome's doing so much. They're generating so much to the community. Something else I'd like to see is a community public arts initiative. CDA has started that. We're doing something small to perk up a town building that's been an eyesore for years, that's technically supposed to be torn down years ago, but we're going to make it last as long as we can to save money, and we can do it through assistance from non-government agencies like AARP. It won't cost us any tax dollars. And I'd like to see us continue to work on being a year-round destination that'll expand winter activities. Programming is getting more exciting in the winter. It's drawing more people here, and that'll really help our small businesses thrive more in the wintertime because they're still struggling, you know, but they'd really like to make it work, and we can help them do that by helping those, you know, winter activities grow. And there's so many things that are being drawn here. So those are some of the things I see happening in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So those are the things. Public arts initiative to make us look, you know, prettier, cleaner, cleaning up some of the things around us, a quarterly newsletter for the community that connects us more, and becoming a winter, our year-round destination by helping our small businesses thrive in the winter. Thank you.
One of the things we've been pushing the county for was called county forest lands, and there are some county forest lands in the county of Adams, but they're all here in Rome. I forgot the number, 150 acres, something on that line. That's another area where we can push the county to help us keep this atmosphere that we all are enjoying now and maintain it going forward. There's a couple things happening in the future that we have to all consider. Sand Valley's, that TIF is going to be paid off in 2027, and that's going to be a huge influx of cash coming into our community. So 5 years from now, we're going to be looking at budgets a little different than we are now, but we want to make sure that we are smart when those funds become available, and we're spending them for the proper growth and as how we want to see it here in the town. We've got additional thoughts on part of the reason I brought up the comprehensive plan earlier, and I'll bring it up again, was to control the growth of the town. We want to make sure that the growth is occurring the way we all want to see it occur. The comprehensive plan is our best way of doing that, so we can set aside certain areas where we don't want to see campgrounds right in the middle of a subdivision and things along that line. So, yeah, in my opinion, it was extremely important to bring that comprehensive plan forward from 2026 to 2021. It's being worked on now, and hopefully we'll have it done in a short period of time. And that's going to give us a little bit more control of the town and the growth and what we see for expansion. So, and again, if folks have questions on what they think would be opportunities for us in the future, send them all in. Our emails are all available. Send it to any of the supervisors, myself, and anything's open for consideration. Thank you.
All right. We'll end with a closing statement from each of you, and we'll be starting with Lori. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. If I'm honored to be elected as town chair of Rome, I promise our town board and staff will work together inwardly and outwardly to bolster the true sense of community. The town of Rome will lead by example. We'll follow the ordinances we have and make. We will communicate with you and make it easier for you to work with us. We will celebrate the good things we have, like quality recreation and nature, and fun things we have going almost every single day. And we will turn away from that which divides. Thank you to everyone here and those listening at home for their participation tonight, and to the Rome makers for making this forum possible. I love serving Rome, and I'm passionate about serving Rome. I promise you action, and I respectfully ask for your vote on April 4th. Thank you.
Okay, Carl.
Again, I'll repeat this a little bit. With the Sand Valley TIF closing out as expected in 2027, now is the time to start planning for the additional revenues. This will involve creating pro forma budgets and discussing with you, the taxpayers, our priorities and your priorities. Some folks will have their pet projects they'll want to see funded, and you will want to ensure your board members are up to the task of handling this new revenue source. Again, my experience in business has prepared me not only to handle current issues, but to look forward. There's a caveat to our boards and residents. We have to be cautious again with plan requests, as we were talking about in the short-term rentals. If someone's plan qualifies under all of our ordinances, comp plans, and any other qualifies, we may not like the plan, and some folks will vote against it, as has happened in the past. This may open us up to legal challenge and associated liabilities. We need to be smart and ensure our comprehensive plan and gateway plans are upgraded to maintain a handle on our growth. We've already eliminated some loopholes, but we need to review other sections of our policies. I don't know if you folks know it, but on the camping ordinance, it does not say in the ordinance anywhere that campers must be removed. It does refer to another area where picnic tables and 2 watercraft are allowed to be on the lot after November 30th. On the back of the camping permits for 2023, it does now state that campers are to be removed on the off season. So trying to eliminate the confusion with some of these things. Going back to road repairs, you said I got a little more time. Yes, we do need to get the plowing out there. I'd like to see a plow anytime we're over 2 inches, and if we have to make that part of our ordinance or guidelines, that's what it's going to be. Grants for roads, there are many grants out there. We heard that the governor is sitting on around $7 billion. $4 billion, I understand, is already taken. Our State Assemblyman Scott Krug is fighting to get us additional funds, but the grants are going to be a big source of our future use. I don't know if you know it, but towns like Rome and other towns, it's on my
apply for that.
votehasdell.org. You'll see all the information.
Okay. Dan?
Again, thank you to the Rome Makers for hosting this forum tonight. Thank you to all of you who came out. It is great to see so many people out, and I know that there are people watching both tonight and on recorded versions. For me, as a town supervisor, I guess it's maybe always sort of been in my blood. My mom was the first woman town supervisor of the town of Cronenwether, where I grew up back in 1980. And then when I moved back into Wisconsin, I became a county board supervisor in Marathon County for 5 years before I moved to Taylor County, where I was a county board supervisor there when I lived there. And then when I came back here, when I had that chance, after I got settled in, I thought, okay, I want to give back to this community that I'm living in, because I don't personally plan on moving from Rome until they take me away in a box. So I'm done moving. I've moved enough in my life. But no, it's a great community. I see my time here on the town board as an opportunity to be of service to the other residents and to be a conduit for your questions, for your comments, for your wishes, for your desires. You know, yes, we're going to have some money coming in the next couple of years as the Sand Valley TIF comes onto the tax rolls. If we manage it right, it can set us up well for the future for our projects that we need to do, and I look forward to seeing how we plan that over the next 2 years. So again, thank you. Please remember, come out and vote on April 4th. Even though my fellow supervisor candidate and I are unopposed, barring an awesome writing campaign, we're both going to be on the town board starting after the election. There are other races out there, both local and school district and statewide. So please, everybody, come out and vote. If you can't come, if you don't think you're going to make it here on April 4th, open voting or early voting is open all next week here at the town hall. So please vote. That's the most important thing.
Thank you. Well, thank you for spending time with everybody tonight. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate the answers that you have, and I hope some of you have learned something tonight. I know I did. So I would like to thank everybody for coming out. They will be hanging around a little bit, so if you have some questions for them now that you could think of that you would be able to ask, that would be good. And a reminder, the election is April 4th, and Rome Makers are going to have a bake sale, so come and see us. And mark your calendars now to attend the Town of Rome's annual meeting, which will be held on Tuesday, April 18th. There is a listening session from 4 to 6, and then it's followed by the annual meeting. And I hope all of you show up and bring your neighbors. This is your chance to address the town at a listening session, and that's really important for people to do. The stuff I see on Nextdoor is just, they need to come and express their concerns here, because this is the place to do it. So thank you for coming.